Alright, welcome back to the show. We are going to tape the body off to put the stripes on, effectively. So I've downloaded a couple extra things, and this is a kind of neat idea. It shows you where the lines go and kind of makes an indication of what the tape widths are. I'm not sure how valid that is. I guess it looks like it, because you used like MS Paint or something to make colored lines. The lines themselves are all the same thickness, but the stripes are different. So I mean, the sort of light blue stripes, the white stripe behind it is wider, whereas the green stripes, bright green, you really can't see the white stripe behind it. So I mean, it must be true that there's different thicknesses. I've only got one roll of whatever the heck this is. Let's see, 0.23 inches, whatever that works out to. So less than quarter inch. But I'm going to use what I've got, which is, I don't know, that's not 1 inch, is it? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, I don't have a tape measure, I don't care. I'm going to double up this stuff when I'm going to do a stripe that's in between this and this, and that'll have to do. Now, looking at these images, I think this guitar here is either the real deal or it's a very good replica. And one of the things that tells me that is the sort of eyelet screw, whatever you call it, is on the back of the horn and not on the tip of it, whereas this guy up here, he has his strap peg up here on the tip, exposed. Actually, this one doesn't have those kind of screws. These are just regular, whatever you call them, strap buttons. This might be the real deal. This is what I was talking about a heavy weathering I'm going to do right there to expose the wood. But you can see this is a strap. It's like a, what do you call them, like a dog collar thing. So, and he's got tape around it. So that hooks onto the eye screw, and the other end is like down here, you can't see it. This is what I was talking about with the round cavity. I don't have like an oval cavity. I have, looks more like a humbucker cutaway. That's just the way I did it. So I'm leaving it that way. Obviously not going to hit it with the router again just to try and make it look like some picture I saw online. I like that this one has sort of red paint inside the cavity. I've seen some of them where it's black. Anyway, so there we go. We start with the taping off where the white stripes are, then I paint the thing red. And I ran out of paint at a convenient time because I feel like I didn't have anything that was uncovered that I needed to cover. Any of the last stages of my body work, my wood filler, got done. Now there's a thin spot. So here's an example where that didn't get enough paint, right there. So, easy solution, that'll just be where I relic it. Just hit it with sandpaper, wear that down to wood, job's done. What I'm going to do with this truss rod adjustment cutaway thing, I don't know. I'm going to get red paint. See, that corresponds with the, where's a picture, with where the stripe goes. So it would be white on the inside. I'm just going to let it overspray as red, call it a day. Part of what I think would make this authentic is that it doesn't look absolutely pristine. So some of the replicas, the store-bought EVH replicas, are just like perfect crisp lines and glossy finish, and they look great, but just there's something missing, and that's what I think I'm going to try for, is to add a little bit of the authentic worn look as opposed to the strict following the original lines where they were. And I understand if you're going to make a 10,000 of these guitars, you're not going to hand relic each one. Ask Fender how their Road Worn series turned out for them. So let's get striping. Okay, right off the bat, we have a problem. It's not a problem, but that's where my input jack is. I guess that's out of frame, sorry. The picture has it at the low part of the bottom, which is here. So it's like 1.5 inches off. This black stripe here is electrical tape, story says, but that's out of convenience. Eddie put that on there so he'd know exactly where to plug in. For me to follow the pattern and to put that where the jack goes, because I also want that convenience, it's going to be over here a little bit. So I mean, right off the bat, one thing's going to be different about my guitar, no biggie. So masking this off, the trick is stopping in about the middle of the body, and then the last stripe I do will be the one that goes all the way around, and that basically just covers up all the ends. And I can trim them with exacto knife, I suppose. So I've oriented this sheet, make it easier for me to follow. And already off. No, let's start that one again. Just to be right about here. That'll do it. Now, that worked. And then there's another one. Appears to go all the way across. No. No, it does too. Goes all the way across the body. Across about here. Looking at two things, roughly where the stripes are and where the stripes aren't. So I'm leaving a certain amount of triangle right here and a gap over here, reasonable gap. So there we go. All right, I'm going to carry on doing this, and then we'll have a look and see what it looks like when I'm done. Well, that's the first coat of tape. Start to find out as you do this, stripe that you're doing looks right while you're doing it, and then when you start to get all the little ones around it, I did the big tape first, then the little tape, then I start to find where one of the stripes just does not line up with what I'm seeing in the picture. So I'll make an example. This one corresponds with that, and it goes all the way to the edge, leaves a little triangle at the top. Well, I think I started it way too far here. I think it should have been here, which means kind of everything was over too far, but whatever. So let's say it should have been there, evenly between that one and that one. It's not, it's here. So it would have left a huge triangle up here, not a hardly noticeable one. So this is under a few layers. I could lift it and do it again by cutting it in several places, or I could just leave it, and who cares? Another one. These turquoise lines intersect. For this one, this is the one I did third, to come up here and to not leave, like here they almost touch. Here I've got them crossing way down here. If I had moved this any higher to make this intersection right, which is going to be a giant white block anyway, this would have been a massive triangle. So again, this is under where I'm going to relic anyway, and if I go a little zealous with the relic, you're really not going to notice some of these things. Not too many of the stripes start on an edge and finish in the middle somewhere. So this one I have doing that. This guy shows a turquoise line that just stops at the pickup, but it doesn't. It actually carries on. As you can see, there's an edge of it right there. And that's just for this guy's replica. You're not seeing exactly that in this guy's replica. This thing might be the real deal. It's hard to tell. This one might be the real deal. It's hard to tell. And it doesn't have some of the stripes that this one does. So, you know, ultimately, does it really need to look Exactly. I'll bet you there's half a dozen of them, or maybe 5 dozen of them, in Eddie Van Halen's collection that do not have identical stripes. So it really doesn't matter. And the point is not to make a counterfeit. The point was to make a tribute. So if it looks good and it works, then a couple of the things that I've done can just be my personal touches. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So flip it over, do the back, and then the headstock. There's your back stripes. Done a couple of them off. These 2 purple lines are for these 2 thick guys, and if you look at this picture, they converge here. I think this one's over too far. It should be over here some more. And there's going to be a black one right here, which is basically going to touch this white one. Whereas here, that's him right there. So that's way too far over, but whatever. Pretty close. And I got to do the edge, but I'm going to do that in the garage once I've got this thing hung up for paint. So don't forget. Now for the headstock. That didn't take long. The next trick with this is trimming the tape off carefully. It still has to stick so it keeps the red out from under the stripes. But the sides of the neck and the back of the neck are red in these replicas, which I'm enjoying. So that's what we're going for. A little more trimming, and then it's off to paint.